Good evening, Facebook. Welcome to the Battcave with your host, Kevin Batt, Sports with Zachary Batt. And tonight it is all about the bass. Jim Goodwin has questions for our panel of bass players. Stick around. Kevin?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Welcome to Live from the Battcave. This is our second show. I have a little trouble with our live feed, so we're going to post later. Appreciate you all hanging in there with us on this. So tonight, it's bass player, the big bass breakdown is what I was calling it. So we've got bass players from all over. We got people from different parts of the country. The tie-in is at some point or another, we've either all played together or played on the same stage with each other. Or related to each other, whatever the case may be. And they're all great people. So we got Dana, who used to play in all the clubs around Indianapolis. She's moved out of town, but we always enjoyed going and sitting in on the stage with her. Fantastic player, fantastic person, fun to be around. We have Julie Elkins out in Boston. She used to be here in Indy for a while. She jammed in a band with me. Really, really cool person, great player, great singer, just great person all around. Stewart from Suspicion Denied. So this is, those of you who watch this on the Suspicion Denied page when it gets posted, this is your virtual Suspicion Denied reunion. You got Matt McLaughlin and you got me and you got Steve. We did a CD in the 90s. Called Lost Along the Way, and Steve has moved off to another part of the state. We were looking to do a reunion, and actually everything happened. The whole coronavirus thing blew up like the week that we were getting together. So after like a million years, we were going to get together, and then the coronavirus got in our way. But that doesn't mean we won't come back and do something for you guys. And then we also have the bass daddy of them all, and that's Tim Messersmith. And Tim Messersmith has been playing around town, well, since longer than I've been around, for sure. He's currently with the Isaac Rudd Band. Isaac's a up-and-coming country star here in the area. Certainly would recommend people go out and see them. Tim's played with Larry Crane, Tony Burton, Don Stuck, you name it. He's been with a lot of different bands in the area. All around, great bass player, great guy. He's my uncle too. So that ain't too bad either, right?
It's the only way you could get him to stop by.
So I think the best way to start all of this is, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, man, he's like expensive. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of love here now.
Yeah, that's right. All the love, man. All the love.
Family.
I think the way we got to start this was I was taught by my mom, who was Tim's big sister, ladies first. So how about we, I'm looking on my screen up there. First one I got on the screen is Dana. Dana, what have you been up to? I mean, I remember the old days. We'd go to the clubs. We'd hang out. Man, those were some good times. You were, was Reflections first that I saw you in, and then Face First with, God bless him, C.J. Watson. I mean, he rest in peace. Great guy. You've been out of the scene for a while. What have you been up to?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yes, Reflections and Face First. That transition back at the Take 5 on East Washington Street.
Yeah.
I got that gig right after I came home off the road, and I got thrown in because I needed a gig when I got home. And unfortunately, Johnny Ray had to step out, and I got a big rig out of IRC from Brent Boyce, a guitar player there in town.
Great player.
Yes, exactly. And so I learned half the songs there on stage. I mean, they gave me some cassette tapes, and it's like, okay, we got a list of tunes that we've got to do, and you start tomorrow. Like, okay, I'm like, what? I think I'm 22, maybe 21, 22-ish, whatever. And well, it was me. Terry Valdi was in the band at the time. Everybody knows him.
Oh yeah.
CJ, Mike Schroeder, who he moved off, and he's in Ohio selling cars, and he's a director of Toyota, Honda, whatever now.
Really fun dude,
Yes.
man. He was a great drummer.
Yes, he went to play with Snakeskin Cowboy
Oh,
after he left.
I could see that. He had the look for that.
Absolutely did. Scott Hoffman. He went off to play with Rick Taylor in
Rocking Horse.
Thank you. Yes.
That's right. He's back with Full Tilt now.
Is he really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guy's not on social media. He's an online ghost, basically.
He is, yeah.
Yeah. You've got to go knock on that guy's door to talk to him.
Yeah.
Face First actually made an album, and it never made it really off the master tapes because I've got a son, and we had just some conflict within the band, whatever. We all just kind of broke up, and I've got it. I still have 4-track recording on a cassette, and a friend there in town, Andy Bates, took it, cleared it up. I've got CDs, so I get to listen to it whenever I want to. And yes, CJ Watson, rest in peace, my brother. We both came up teaching at the guitar shop in Broderville when it was just a little red house, 911 Broderville Avenue. Before it became about music, and now I understand it's like on College Avenue.
Now, weren't you guys were you in Milwaukee Iron?
Milwaukee Iron, yeah.
Does that sound right? You guys went to China or something, right?
Yeah, we got to go on the road. The drummer, he runs the co-op in Bogstown, Dave Harlemert. And how that came about is me, CJ, and his half-brother, Aaron Butler, who lives in, I don't remember where Aaron lives now, but we're looking for a drummer. We came upon this drummer. Well, Dave he played with Dwight, keyboard player.
Keeler.
Yes, thank you. In Montage. And he had already been on the road. He's got the PA. He's got the place to practice, whatever. It's like, okay, I think we'll audition you. And Dave's just like sitting across the table at the Waffle House off of Greenwood, exit 99, just kind of snickering. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll audition for your band. And we have no idea because we're like, I'm 20 at this time. So yeah, I think, we'll audition you. So we wind up going on the road and everything in a backpack. And he's got the connection. We wind up going to China in 91 for 5 weeks. I would not trade that for anything if I had to do it all over again. All the 6 to 8 hours in an airport while they took all of our stuff apart, put it back together poorly, and just sitting in dirty airports, whatever the thing, and eat smoke in the airport, and then here comes some dude in a red beret and a Uzi, put it out. Okay. You have to pay now. Boom. And then you could smoke again as long as you paid. It was crazy. But that was 1991. Things are very different now. But it was a test bed. Basically, it was just a test bed to see how Western music was going to get accepted.
You were one of the first American rock bands that allowed into China to play, wasn't that correct?
Yes, the first documented was Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 1993. They actually got a write-up in Metal Edge. And as we got magazines, in the band house, me and CJ and Camille Wallen, actually, she's married to a songwriter in Nashville. Yeah. CJ was like, you got to read this. He was just furious because we got no notoriety. He was like, dude, we got pictures and stuff, and we had the experience. I still got pictures. I put them up on Facebook, whatever. It was fantastic. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Some cool stuff. So what have you been up to since then? Just raising a family and jamming
Yes,
when you can?
I took 12 years off and raised my son because being a mom, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to go play in bars, you're going to read stories and take care of toothaches and earaches and whatever. So I read books and watched Barney and Friends. So did that. And about 2006, I was in Broderville out with a friend of mine. And he's like, so is Pat still waking up to thunderstorms? It's like, no, he's 12. So is he, you still reading stories to him? It's like, no, he's 12. So why aren't you playing? And this is a guy I played in the Butler Youth Symphony with, right out of high school. And so he was really hard pressing. So that I don't have an excuse on why I'm not playing. And I still have that red bass that I played at Take 5. Unzip the bag. Wow. Yeah, I had that bass for 24 years. And unzipped the bag and just started playing again. And I became a very different player after being off for 12 years, not touching it. And so I started going around to clubs and open stages and seeing what was going on. And I ran into an old friend from that neighborhood, which was Bill Hayes from the Flying Toasters. And he used to play at the supper club around the corner that their band used to go see each other. But little did I know that he actually was in this just band that was just the band of town. And he's like, hey, there's a old friend of mine that's playing. And all I had to do was walk into a place and play well and not embarrass him or me. And I actually did very well. I was very fortunate because of what I did before and what I was able to do. I was really, really lucky.
Nah, you know what? I think everybody here that's ever heard you play would say it's not luck, it's talent. Come on, you were a good player.
Very much so.
I know.
Good story, though.
Yeah, good. It's a great story, but I mean, you know, I got to say, I think you're a great player. I think it's talent. You know, part of it's luck. It's always part of it's luck, right?
Right. I spent so many hours. I could probably count years out of hours of what I spent just on the bass. I graduated high school with a double major in music and got a scholarship to Butler on the upright bass.
So luck.
That
luck.
So,
right, luck.
Anyway,
Luck with a capital.
Luck.
Yeah.
So,
we should all be so lucky.
But when I started playing again, I didn't go back to the scales and the arpeggios and the heady player, the notey player that I was. When I knew you guys, I just walked around my living room and played, Billie Jean and Remedy and just stuff like that. I just started playing songs. I loaded up Winamp with a bunch of songs and I just started. And there's songs that I will never forget, like Boot Scootin' Boogie and just stuff like that.
Come on,
I mean, there's songs that you guys know you will never forget because you've played them 2 million times, and that's basically that's what I did when I started playing again. But now here in Oklahoma, there's not the scene that's in Annapolis. It's either young heavy metal or it is country, and they're all in their 20s. And unfortunately, I'm not willing to go into some 120-degree garage and sweat it out to go make $40 because that actually is what's going on here. So I will play for myself and enjoy myself.
Well, cool. I think what we're going to do next, I think we'll move down to the next bass player in line. Hang with us because I think Jim Goodwin and maybe Andy Chalet, because they're our resident bass players here, are probably going to have some rapid fire questions for all the bass players. So I'm going to move right down to Julie Elkins. Julie, you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. So Julie Elkins, originally from Kansas, lived in Indianapolis.
Missouri.
Kansas, Missouri. That's right.
Kansas
Okay,
City,
whatever,
Missouri.
whatever. Kansas City. I know it's a
Well,
big
it's a
thing.
big difference.
It's a big thing with you guys. It's kind of like Illinois and Illinois, right?
It is.
All you guys, whatever. What's important is that you lived here with us.
That's right. I
And
did.
and then now you've moved to Boston. Actually, you were in Boston for a while beforehand, right? Because I remember when I met you, your email handle was Boston Julie, I think, or
Still
something to that
is.
effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So you have moved on. You have a new young son who was a Beatles fan, to say the least, right? Which is really cool to several of us here. I can't speak for everybody, but I know there's a few of us that are big Beatles fans. I know I'm a big Beatles fan because of one of the people that's here. So,
Absolutely.
so you're in 2 flights up. I've seen them. So, guys, I went to Boston for work, and I had some extra days to stay in town, and Robin and Cassidy were with us, and Julie didn't know. And I'd been paying attention to her band's website, and I saw that they were going to be playing in this. It was actually a bar that was connected to a hotel, right? And so we were going to stay at that hotel. Ended up we went to a different hotel, but regardless, we Ubered over, and so we're sitting there in the bar when she comes out to play, right? And which was great. We had the greatest time, all of us, because it was a bar, a restaurant, so Cassidy could get in even though she was underage. It wasn't a big deal for them. And we all had a great time watching your band. You got some you got some good players in the band. You got what is it? The instrument that the gal plays that is like
We have a Thurman.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thurman. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So
So Diane and our drummer, who actually started the band, Peter Karabulius. Diane actually wasn't playing with us, but she would come up and hang out. And then all of a sudden I heard her play some things in the back, and I'm listening back to the tapes. And I'm like, we're better when Diane's in the room. And, they're old hippies, and it's just been a blast. I want to talk about how I picked up the bass.
yeah.
I had always been a singer, and on one day I met Tina Weymouth and Flea the same day, and
Wow.
and she was so tiny because bass players are big guys, right? In the band, I'm like, oh my god, just tiny little thing. She's like 5'2" maybe or something. And I'm like, wow. So it kind of got stuck in my head. And I work with college students, and I had one college student that he unfortunately took his own life. And it was a really hard time. And I was trying really hard to connect with one of my other students. And the only thing he would talk to me about was music. And he kept saying, man, you got to play my bass. You got to play my bass. You got to play my bass. And I'm like, I can't take your bass. You're a student. I can't take your bass home. And so I ended up doing it. It weighed about 80 pounds. It was one of those old PVs, and I was like, all right, if I got this, I should take some lessons. So I was up near Boston. I found a guy on Craigslist. That's how we all find a guy on Craigslist. And I get a hold of this bass player, from a little place called Berkeley Music. And we start playing, and he comes in and he picks up the bass. I wish I still had the bass. I gave it back to the student, Bob. Bob's the guy's name. And I gave it back to Bob, and he picked it up and he goes, well, you could pretty much drop this off the second floor and nothing would happen to this. So you're in good shape. Let's learn on this. And he said, what do you want to learn to play? And I said, Psycho Killer. So
Nice.
yeah, that's the first thing I worked on, and I just fell instantly in love. My students, I threw the bass in the back of my car, and I ran into some of my students, and they said, hey, we're putting together a band. You should come play with us. And I said, I've taken 4 lessons. So I'm really not, I played the guitar before, but I played the guitar kind of like Kermit the Frog is kind of an acoustic. So yeah, so I really don't play it anywhere. And they're like, no, come play with us. So I did, and the next thing I knew, we had a gig opening for Immortal Technique. And so they told me we had 2 hours before we played, and I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out what to wear. I'm like 20 years older than, you know, these college students, the drummers, like barely 18. And, you know, I have no idea kind of what I'm doing. So they call me up and they go, we have to go on in 30 minutes. And I'm like, I'm like wet in the shower. And I'm like, there's like no way. So I had no makeup or nothing. And so I threw on these glasses so I look like really cool. Actually, I look like hell underneath there. And the guy who was running sound was a bass player. So, you know, I know like 3 notes, you know, we're playing like, oh gosh, you know, good old stuff like, you know, bump, 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 bump. Because that's, you know, what they could teach me to play. It's there. So we're playing some Jimi Hendrix, and he's got me turned up so loud, and I keep turning down. He keeps turning me up. But I just fell in love. It's hard to do both at once. Hats off to every bass player that can sing and keep rhythm and be able to do that. So I do it. I do half of the load. Thankfully, I have a very gifted lead guitar player. You know, we're really kind of a three-piece with a theremin on the end. But, you know, it's really hard to keep the focus. It's different parts of my brain that's there. But every once in a while, it comes together. But getting the chance to play with, you know, the Batman was a real treat. No, I'm serious, because my time in Indy was kind of like Lennon's Lost Weekend in some ways. I thought I could go back to the Midwest after being in Boston, and people were asking me crazy questions like, is recycling real? And things like that. So I guess sometimes you can't go back, but
I may have asked you that question.
yeah, but the people I met while I was at Indy will always be in my heart. And Kevin's one of them. Michael Sparks is another one who I played with the Commodores for a while. And we did some recording that was there. Shecky, who is an incredible bass player and artist. I love him to pieces. I got to know him. Mama, who's got one of the most incredible voices I ever heard in the indie community. I couldn't believe the richness of the music and the openness of the heart and the soul. I don't know if it's because of the commitment to God that I hear from many of the players that are there that runs through what they're doing. But it's always has a special place in my heart. I also got the heart that before the Sex Pistols came together, of playing with them a little bit, and, you know, hats off to them and to Kathy and Steve Hurt, are incredible musicians, and all the work that Steve does behind the scenes with the mixing. There's just so much talent in indie. I'm just glad to know you all. So thanks.
What are we doing here?
Oh, yeah, what are we doing in Indy?
Yeah.
No, it was, I tell you what, Julie, I miss you all the time. I really do. You know, I play now in Off the Hook with Rob Darty, and Rob played with us back in the day. And, you know, he asked about you. Dan Schaefer asked about you. You know, obviously, you know, Dave Short. So, you know, I can't wait for the chance to get back together and jam. We got to find a way to come out there to Boston and fit one of these things into my carry-on. I'm going to take the little one, the Steinberger or something, and toss it in the overhead and come out there sometime. And maybe your guitar player will be nice enough to let me get up on a song.
Always.
You know.
Always.
So thanks for coming on the show. Stick around. We're rapid fire from the bass players. Next up in line, the man who one of the men for sure that influenced me when I was growing up. My mom and my dad split up, and I spent a lot of time, and that's everybody's story. So but I spent a lot of time at grandma's, and at grandma's house were my mom's family, obviously, and my uncles. A couple of them played. My uncle Kenny, we called him Slim, and my uncle Tim, and watching them play, listening to them play really had an impact on a very young mind. And then when they all moved out, they left all their record albums, and man, was it great as a kid, growing up, inheriting Beatles albums, Vanilla Fudge, all kinds of crazy stuff, and listening to it growing up, it really was a big impact for me. I got in bands and I started playing, and then lo and behold, one day out of the blue, my uncle and I were talking, and he was talking about playing again. And he and I got together and we got in a band with a singer that was really out there. Great dude, but really out there. And we got to play together, which was great. And then Tim has gone on to really great heights locally. Like you said, he's played with Larry Crane from the Mellencamp Band. He played with Tony Burton, and a lot of the guys on the east side of Indianapolis know Tony Burton as one of the guys that he was their mentor, their tutor. I think actually Jim Goodwin took lessons from Tony. And of course, he's played for Don Stuck, who's a local radio celebrity for people who are just tuning in. But he's with Isaac Rudd right now. And Tim, I'm going to turn this over to you. I'm not going to ask you a whole lot of questions. I might let Matt or somebody ask a few questions, because I think I know a lot about you. But if you want to just talk like Julie talked, or maybe even if you just want to talk to us about Isaac Rudd and why you're doing that. I mean, you've been a rock and roll bass player your whole life pretty much. And now you're doing country, and you really seem to be into it, which is cool. I know I need to come see you play.
Yes, you do.
Tell us, what's up, man?
Well, just like Julie said, I'm gonna start from the beginning myself. And my oldest brother, David, was 9 years older than me. So I'm probably 13 years old. He decided he's got a job and a car, and he's gonna learn to play music. He didn't know what he wanted, so he comes home with a bass guitar, a Dan Electro bass, which I would like to have now, but. So he's left-handed. He switches the strings around. He's playing left-handed, and I don't ever remember him playing anything that made any sense at all. So he plays this bass for not very long. Next thing I know, it's in the closet. So I see this bass, and my other brother Kenny, as Kevin told you, he played guitar, and he was a huge influence on me as well with music, and he was very encouraging. So when I saw this bass, and I asked David, I said, "You need to let me have that bass." And so he gives it to me, and I flipped it around, and back then we didn't know anything about the action on the bass, and it was strings are probably a mile off the neck, and it's really an effort. But I was fascinated by bass, fascinated. Early on, I learned to play a few chords on the sixth string, but I really had no desire to do that. I've always been a bass player. And so time went on, and like I said, Kenny played in an R&B band, and they needed a bass player. They had a very good bass player at the time, and he went on and bigger and better things, I guess. So here I am, like you say, with this set list that I need to learn because we're playing next Saturday at a dance. you know. So a lot of times I just bang through, you know. I could keep it close. Learned to play the R&B. Kenny always told me, even from early on, you need to learn to play the blues. You need to learn the blues. You learn the blues, everything else is tied in with it. So I was a big blues fan, but I was also fascinated by John Paul Jones.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, huge Beatle fan, but man, Led Zeppelin was it. I was actually,
There you go.
I told someone this statement, and I said, I'm not bragging, but I've seen Led Zeppelin 2 times. He said, yes, you are. And I said, okay, maybe I am, you know. But I did get to see him 2 times. My brother Kenny took me to several concerts. I saw Jeff Beck. I saw Beck, Bogart, and Appice, if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
Cactus, you know, all the early rockers, you know. Kenny actually saw Jimi Hendrix at the fairgrounds. Chicago opened for him is when no one even knew who they were. And Kenny comes home, he says, man, I saw this horn band. He said, that's the best guitar player, man. He said, Hendrix bowed down to him, you know. Talking about Cherry
Terry
Cath.
Kath.
Terry Cat.
So I then became a fan of Chicago. And Peter Cetera, man, he's a really good bass player too.
Yes.
So many bass players, I don't know, you know. So I went on and I played in these bands, this and that, did this and that. It was all rock and roll, you know. Everything was rock and roll, you know. The blues was okay, but it was, you know, I liked it, but you know, it's okay. It's kind of simple. It is, but I didn't understand it, you know. I did not understand it, man. I have since become a huge fan of blues, just the feel of music. You know, once I learned that it's more important the notes that you don't play than the notes that you do play. I know I'm kind of rambling on here, but man, you kind of let me out of the cage, you know, and there's just so many thoughts running through my head from early on to now. So,
All good.
Kevin, I do give Kevin the credit. He goes, man, we need a bass player. You need to start playing again. That's how it actually happened. You need to start playing again. So I'm off to IRC buying a precision bass, you know.
Well, it's
Here we
Kevin's
go. Here we go. It's Kevin's fault. Yeah.
He's a big pain in the ass, I swear.
Always. You think he's bad now, man. When he was a little kid. He's always been my little brother, man. I'm very, very blessed to have him and all my family. So music went from R&B to rock and roll to, you know, I ran into Don Stuck at Zanies. I know everybody knows about Zanies. So I jumped in that band with him. We put a band together. Played with him for a lot of years, and a lot of people would tell me, you know, why are you playing with Don Stuck? You could do better, you know. You could. And I said, man, I love playing with Don. He's like my brother as well, you know. And these gigs are so easy. I don't do anything, man. I just show up and play. And I drank a lot back then. I just, you know, I get free drinks, and I don't mind playing the dives. Well, you know, and
Don Stuck is adorable.
he's still that way. Still that way. He's up in Chicago now.
He's so adorable.
We
need to get him on the show too. We're gonna have to do that.
He would do that in a heartbeat.
That would be great.
He would probably ask you not to call him adorable, though.
I would not.
I've already told him.
So the blues to rock, and Kevin's right. I was always a rocker, and I fell into a gig with Larry Crane. I played with him for about 12 or 13 years, and Tony Burton was his lead guitar player. I knew of Tony, but I didn't really know him. And I played with him for years, you know. Tremendous player, great guy. Tony was working in the studio. Tony, Scott Stackhouse, and myself put a 3-piece rock and roll band together, you know. And man, it's a good band, really. I'm not just saying that. It was really good. So Tony did a lot of studio work with Alan Johnson, and they they did an album for Isaac Rudd, Country Kid, and so Tony's like, hey man, this kid's got a CD. He needs to do some showcases. You and Scott, would you want to play on it? Play with me in this showcase band. I'm like, man, dude, I know nothing about country, and I've never been a fan of country. There's a lot of good stuff in country music, but I've just never been exposed to it much. So we did a few gigs. I've been playing with him 4 years now, from that little showcase thing. Tony has since left the band. We've added 2 other guitar players, a fiddle player, female fiddle player. She's phenomenal. So my country music favors what Dana will probably hear in Oklahoma and Texas. It's called the red dirt country and the outlawed country. It's okay. It's like Southern rock. There's a lot of Southern rock feel to it. Some of it's kind of slow and all, but man, I've gotten back to my roots. I have no desire to play every note on the fretboard anymore.
Now, I'll tell you what, I've actually heard at least one of the songs off the album you've done with them. Done Me Wrong? Maybe?
Done Me Wrong.
Done Me Wrong. And now everybody who knows me knows that I'm not the biggest country fan in the world. Now, to qualify that, if I'm watching a good country band live, I enjoy that as much as watching any band live. But I don't sit around listening to it on the radio or on my iPod or whatnot. However, I got to say, I really enjoyed the song. It's got a really good melody to it. It's well put together. Isaac's got a good voice. I thought you did a good job as well, and the guitar player is really good. Maybe somewhere down the road when we get the show really rolling, we can see if Isaac would like to do a drop by. Maybe you can come back on with him.
Oh, I'm sure he would. He's a good kid, man, and he would take us back to years ago. He is so dedicated.
He's got a good voice.
He believes it's in his heart. He loves to play music, and not to self-plug myself, but he appreciates me. He appreciates what I bring to the table, and he looks up to me somewhat, and I like that. I'm not.
You're the bass daddy.
Not any different than anybody else, but it's Isaac Rudd and the Revolvers now. So we've things are moving along, and this COVID-19 knocked us down a little bit, but everybody. So he's writing, and now we're working on a new album. We recorded 4 songs. He sent some scratch tracks to us, and we're working on the rest of them. So country, man.
Who knew?
And all my friends, musician friends, they are like, dude, what is up with this? And,
Well,
obviously I'm not playing for you, so
I still think that you need a heavy dose of Led Zeppelin. Take 2 albums and call me in the morning, kind of thing.
yeah.
But I'm happy that you're happy, and honestly, I really have enjoyed what I've heard you playing, and when I will have to make it out to a show. Dragging Robin out to a country show may be a kicking and screaming kind of thing, but maybe one of these yahoos that's on here with me on the show would consent to go into a country show with me to see you play.
Kevin, you know my wife.
Well, since Tim's there, you might be able to drag me along.
Yeah. Well, see, there we go. Now I've got a volunteer.
Yeah.
A couple of years before I hooked up with Isaac, and I'm not going to name him, one of the well-known country bands in town needed a bass player, and a friend of mine and a friend of theirs referred me to him, and I went out to see him, and I was not impressed at all. My wife's comment was, I guess I won't be going to those gigs. She's a rocker, man. She's a rocker. Big time.
She's awesome.
First gig that I did with them, we did a big benefit we got paid, but it was a big benefit. And I look out, she's on her phone, man, you know. Yeah, she says, well, I'm here. Okay. And she's kind of she's got a little bit better, but she's still a rocker.
Well, yeah, Tim, you're doing really well. I think that's that. Oh yeah. That sounded
Yeah.
that sounded good.
The one hand clap to the phone.
Yeah,
Hey, stop
that's right.
a living.
No, her comment would probably be, are you guys done?
Absolutely.
So,
Well, like you said, man, talk to Isaac, and once we get this going, I would love to have you guys back together, and maybe he'd do a song for us. I would be really down with that. So,
a lot of stories, and I mean it from my heart. I thank Kevin. Kevin's always been in my corner. You know, he like my little brother. I say, you know, I mean that. I love him.
well, yeah, absolutely,
Appreciate him.
man. I love you too. Absolutely, you've been in my corner too a few times. God knows.
Hang in there, buddy. Hang in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Hey, we're still alive to talk about it.
there's that.
That's right.
There is that.
That's right.
So we'll move on down to Steve Stewart real quick. Stick around because we're going to have the big bass breakdown here in a moment. But
Right.
Steve,
I'm waiting for Big Bottom.
well,
Big bottom.
the big bottom breakdown.
I like that.
I don't know about all that, but you know what? You guys can do what you want.
Oh God.
Steven Stewart, how are you, brother?
What's up, man?
This
Been
this guy's like my little brother, man, from another mother. I've known Steven since he was a teenager for sure, and I'm considerably older than he is. Met him through my good friend Rob Johnson, God rest his soul.
Oh yeah.
Steven is the younger brother of Rob's ex-wife, Holly, and I met him at the parents' house. He was this kid that liked music a lot and was playing a little bit of guitar and always seemed to, want to, get to know everybody. Fast forward many years later, and we were at a party that Rob is playing. He's decided he's going to have a party for the 4th of July. And Matt McLaughlin is there, and I'm there, and Rob's there. And we don't have a bass player. I don't remember what the deal was. Maybe Jim couldn't make it or something to that effect. And I said, Steve, you play guitar, right? And he goes, yeah, I play some guitar. I was like, here's this bass, play it.
Well, see,
He's not kidding.
here's the whole breakdown. I got to go back a little bit. By the way, please bear with any dogs you might hear in the background. Such is life. I remember I was like probably 12, 13-ish. And my next door neighbor, we grew up in and Kevin knows this. We grew up in a very religious household, and rock was kind of they treated rock like coronavirus. Anyways, so my neighbors, he gets me into the Eagles, right? Freaking love the Eagles. Anyways, so fast forward, I think I was 12 or 13, and I told my mom one day, hey, Mom, I want to learn how to play guitar. And my dad's all, oh, you won't stick with it. You won't stick with it. Well, yeah, sorry, Dad. Hate to burst your bubble there. Anyways, we went down, and my dad got the cheapest damn guitar and amp that he could find. I swear to God, the whole damn thing, all of it cost, I think, $60 back then. The guitar sounded like crap. The amp sounded like crap. The only way to get any distortion at all, if you can call it distortion, is to turn it up all the way.
Old school, baby.
Oh yeah. So I'm learning. I get the cowboy chords down, just the basics, and I start to get like to that point where I'm like, all right, fuck this. This ain't no fun no more. I ain't learning nothing. So right about, I think I was like 16, and I went to Hang on, I got Indy's Music House.
Yep.
Ooh.
Indy's Music House.
Yeah.
Nice.
My mom's taking me for lessons, and I go for about 6 months. While I'm there, and I actually have some history right here in this room from that. The whole time I'm waiting for these lessons, so I'm playing guitar, and I always picked up this silver and black, weirdly painted Stratocaster copy. It wasn't even a Fender. It was a Lotus. And I'm playing it every time I'm waiting on my turn to go take my lessons. Well, one day I go in there to get for lessons, and, well, it's gone. Damn it! Who the fucker that bought my damn guitar? Well, I'm pissed, but, I get over it. I forget about it. Fast forward to Christmas of that year, and that damn thing ended up underneath my Christmas tree my mom had got up for me. And here it is.
Oh,
That's
fantastic.
healthy. Woo.
Oh, fantastic. You still got it.
And it still plays. The only complaint I have is I need to replace the neck, because whoever built that damn thing, holy fuck, don't smoke pot before you build a guitar.
Wow.
That or recalibrate your tape measure.
We wouldn't know what you're talking about, Steve.
No,
Yeah.
Steve, one of my favorite
what's
guitars
that?
ever, dude, was a
Anyway,
Lotus.
Smoke what?
One of my favorite guitars, my first two 6 strings I ever had at 16 and 19 were Lotuses. The Strat copy and then the L688. Dude, that's one of my favorite guitars ever, right where you got.
so
Cool.
So I had learned to play, right? And right about then, I believe is right before Christmas. So Kevin and Rob and all that, they slightly predate that guitar by, I think, a few months. Because if I remember right, and to be honest, everybody here, including Kevin, can thank my sister for getting me into music. I ultimately have my sister Holly to thank for that. And this is no bullshit. I'm telling you right now. I tell everybody this, but I'm dead serious when I tell them that Brad Paisley tune, Start a Band, that's really how I got into the band. Seriously, that's how I got into music. No bullshit. I met my sister's rock star boyfriend. No bullshit. Like I walk out and here's Holly and Rob and Kevin all at the same time. So, and I introduced myself, and I'm cool with them right off the bat, right? So I started hanging out with them, and I realized real quick that they're, jamming it. And I believe if memory serves me right, you guys, Kevin, were jamming. It was you, Rob, Jim Goodwin was a bass player. I think it was Jeff Purcell.
Oh, you're talking about way back in the days where we played that damn picnic.
Evicted.
Yeah. That's a throwback.
No. Before that. Destiny.
Yeah.
Destiny.
Oh, speaking of which, you mentioned that company picnic. That was actually my first ever live performance. Story behind that. Rob and Kevin were working at Preston Safeway.
Grocery store, for those who aren't familiar.
Oh, yeah.
And before Rob and Kevin, they were like, "Hey, you want to come help us set up for this company picnic?" I was like, "Yeah, cool," because I been to the basement and checked them out jamming and whatnot. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." So I helped them set up. Well, I think Goodwin had called me over and said, "Hey, you got sound check the guitars. Rob and Kevin are running late, and their boss is being a douchebag and won't let them off work." And so, exactly that guitar right there.
I'll show it. Hang on. It was this guitar right here. This lovely now yellow Fender Stratocaster.
Yes, and that bullet.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I still
And,
have that, by the way. It's put up, but I do still have that, Steve.
That's cool. So that's my first live performance. I was scared. But they say after the first time it gets easier. Yeah, it does. But anyway, so fast forward a few years, and for whatever reason, I think Jim decided to put the bass down or whatever happened.
I think you
They're
got
like,
called into work or something.
well, this is like after the Preston Safeway gig. You guys had said, hey, you want to be our bass player? So I said something to my mom about it. So we bought my first bass, which was a white Squire P bass. And it was actually pretty nice playing bass. I'm kind of pissed that I got rid of it. But so that didn't pan out, and I ended up selling that and going back to guitar. Well, then fast forward a few years later, and me and my brother Jim, who's in Canada right now, but so we're coming back from wherever we're at. I don't know what the hell we're doing, but we're walking back up to Holly's house, and there's like a fuck ton of people. I look at Jim, I'm like, Holly doing something you didn't? He's like, no, I don't. Let's go check it out. So we go check it out, and I walk in, and there's like a whole band set up in the freaking living room, and a keg in the kitchen, and right next to the keg was another blue tub that they were making hairy buffaloes in.
That was a regular weekly occurrence at that
Yeah.
house.
Yes,
No,
it was.
this is nothing special.
For that.
And so, everybody takes their turn, they're jamming, and a lot of great musicians back then. And I get up, I think it was me, you, Matt, and I think Daniel Davis was playing guitar. And he started jamming Rainbow in the Dark.
Yep.
And I started playing it. And guys, I swear to God, this is exactly what happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. Kevin literally shoves a bass in my hand after I set it down. I go get a beer. I come back. He shoves a bass in my hand. And he says, "You're our new bass player." I'm like, okay. And that's
we formed a new band right then. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's literally how that worked.
The next day it was, hey, we got this band. We're going to call ourselves Suspicion Denied, and we're going to forget everything we ever knew, and we're going to listen to the radio, and everything that's a new cool song that's on the radio, we're going to learn that, and we're going to go play that. And that's what we did. We dropped everything we ever knew. There was no there was nothing that was like a throwback. We eventually added some throwbacks, but then we wrote the album, and we did that for quite a while. So
that was an experience. The studio was, to be honest, knowing Kevin, I have to honestly say he's probably one of my biggest influences in music, to be honest, because a lot of what I learned of the music business started with him. And then along the way, after we had, formed Suspicion and we got, learned, a few songs, covers, tunes, whatever, started playing out. And that is where I ended up meeting another person who I've always considered a mentor, somebody who I've always looked up to, and that would be you, Dana. Ever since I saw you guys playing at Face First, and I was like, holy crap. And that's where I really hunkered down. I went back and I really just reevaluated the whole way I played and everything, and figured, okay, it's time to get serious and do this. And along the way, I grew up in the 80s. Yeah, I was the whole metalhead, hard rock kind of thing. But then now I'm more into anything that has a good groove to it. If I can groove to it, I'm in it. Well, with the exception of a few genres, but mainly like blues, country, rock, metal. Yeah, I'm there. But other than that, I mean, I've been down here for 19 years. I've tried to get in bands down here, and everybody's got what we all know as the Star Boy syndrome. And nobody's really they're not serious about the music. And all of you guys know me that I'm all about the music first. And then, like, so I was like, okay, screw it. I'm still going to play with Suspicion tonight and jam with all you guys. But down here, I've been more refocusing on guitar. Like has been stated, getting back to blues, because that's pretty much what everything's built on. And that's just pretty much where I'm at. I mean, and I've kind of tried to apply one to the other, because I feel like knowing where everybody's at musically on their own instruments kind of helps me make better decisions on my own.
Yeah.
So it is what
That
it
makes
is.
sense. So we're committed, though, that we're going to write some more songs, right?
Yes.
Matt.
As a matter of
Matt.
fact, we had Kevin touched on this. We did just the previous week before. I had 3 dates set aside where we were going to come up. I was going to meet up with some old friends that I've known since childhood, and then jam with Kevin. And then after that, I was going to go to a doctor's appointment with my sister, which turned out to be nothing, thank God. And then this whole COVID-19 thing hit, and it just kind of threw all that in the toilet. So here we are.
Right on, man. All right, Jim Goodwin, resident bassist. I'm going to turn the microphone over to you and Matt, and you can join in if you want. But definitely Andy and Jim, man, fire away at these bass players. Let's see what they're all about.
All right. Well, just real quick, I want to say, I really appreciate the sense of community involved in this, and especially, throughout the Indianapolis music scene. Kevin and I grew up together, dreaming of playing in a band and being rock stars. We started with nothing, and most part, we still have nothing, but it's okay. But we had a lot of fun along the way. But one of the things that has always been really key for he and I think for a lot of us, is, music is about people coming together and playing together, playing off of each other and influencing each other. And that's really when it becomes magical. You can sit in a room all by yourself and do all the parts, and that's great, but it lacks that spark that you get from people. And unfortunately, sometimes we find musicians who don't really buy into that. But we're really fortunate to have a group here on the show that really embody that and bring that to the fore. So my first question for the bass players is, what are you practicing? What are you working on? We've got all this time now to sit and do not much of anything, and we can't go out anywhere. So hopefully that means that we're taking the opportunity to work on our craft. So what is it that you're working on? What are you practicing? Is it new technique or songs, or what is it? Tim, you want to start us off? What are you working on?
I'm not specifically working on any band in particular, but I've gotten back to some bluesy roots things. I always play Allman Brothers. I've done that forever. Played some Government Mules Day. Some I don't know if you're familiar with Blackberry Smoke. I like them. Been playing that a bit.
Like that.
And for Matt, I was chasing around on some Dream Theater today. I say
Very nice.
I say chasing around because man, that's just incredible music.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I absolutely know exactly what you mean because it's fun to chase it around.
Yeah.
Do you have a 6-string bass to manage those John Young licks?
No, I have 5, and then when it gets up real high, I just act like I'm playing. Nobody knows.
Well, that's okay because nobody can hear the bass player anyway, right?
Well, you can hear me.
Unless you're on stage with one of you, then you can definitely hear it. Damn bass
Yep.
players.
I don't understand that high 6 string. I always want to go lower, not higher.
Exactly.
All right.
If it gets too high, hand it over to the guitar player.
That's right. What are we keeping them around for?
All right.
Okay, Dana, you wanna chime in? What are you working on?
Actually, what I'm working on mostly, really because I'm on the computer so much, is regaining a physicality to the bass. But I've got one thing, and I do need a 6-string. I had one for a while, and my original concept was to do a 6-string bass vocal arrangement for Alicia Keys' "Fallen." And I still want to do that. I need to restring my bass for an E through C because of the vocal range. And part of that is why I bought the piano, because I do need to do some arranging. And like I said, I'm not playing in cover bands, but more doing some arranging. And still, I've had this in my mind. I think I messaged like Orvis back home several years ago. Hey, you got that 6-string fretless bass? I'd like to, if you could, let me borrow it because I've got this idea. The idea is still there in my head, and I could probably go to a pawn shop because there's going to be some poor soul that has got to pay bills and sell their 6-string bass. But my big goal is going to be, let's do a vocal arrangement because I can visualize it. That's going to be my next big thing. And I did do some Dream Theater. I got through the first part of Octavarium.
Very nice.
That is an 8 minutes deal. I got through the first act, if you will, of Octavarium.
Yep.
John Young is he's a beast.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. And I'm a huge Dream Theater fan.
Just a quiet assassin.
I know. No, he's a very quiet soul.
The
but
quiet
when he plays-
assassin. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on is actually learning to arrange. I did it in high school a little bit for music theory class. So, and now what? 30 years later, I think I'd like to get back to that. Well, it takes some time and some
absolutely.
commitment.
I ran across a Dream Theater doing Funeral for a Friend.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yes.
From 95. I'd never heard that before, and it was amazing.
The only release of that is a live release along with, they're all covers. And I had the title of the record now. Mind blank.
It's easy to look up, but I know what you're talking about, Tim. That is an incredible piece that they do.
Yes, it is.
I love that Elton John song in and of itself, so I'm gonna have to check that out, guys. Thanks for turning me on to that. I'm gonna dig that, I'm sure.
They're certainly a monster of a band. My story for DT is that I got to see them on the Images and Words tour in a room in what used to be the old Eastwood Theater.
Wow.
And it was about 107 degrees inside the room.
Oh my God.
And,
sure.
And that was not being on the stage. I'm sure the stage was hotter.
Yeah, with 56 par cans.
Yeah, and they had their opening act was this horrendous band called Galactic Cowboy. But
Good name.
DT was absolutely wicked. It was so incredible, and I feel fortunate that I got to see them really early in their career. So, all right, Julie, you're up next. What are you working on?
Mostly my basses are behind me. So I'm in the basement tonight because my kid's going to sleep. But so I think it's like week 4 at home, not being in my office. Usually I'm in like starch white shirts and suits and heels and things like that. And so now I'm in the guest room, and that's where all my basses are hanging up. So, you know, the basses are behind me. The anatomy of the Fender bass is hanging on the wall, with a live picture from the last time I was in the first row at Tupelo, which is a little tiny place in New Hampshire, where I saw Melissa Etheridge up here and down on the floor and back up. So I have a live picture of that. I've been playing some Fleetwood Mac. I've been, I think, a little scared to play because I usually need to sing it. And so I'm like, yeah, let's not do that song because I know it has a hook in the bass part. And so I've kind of been like, yeah, let's not play this. Let's play this one over here where I know it's not as heavy. So I've been doing that. And then I've got my wireless bass. So every once in a while I'll walk through the kitchen and something will be playing and I'll be like, well, this is good ear training. And so I'll pick it up. Oh, what is this? And I'll start playing with, oh, this is a good David Bowie tune. And the next thing I have it. So I did hear from my family that perhaps when I'm playing in the kitchen, it vibrates the rest of the house. And my neighbor said, were you playing Cream the other day?
Yes, I was.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe I'm like, man, do you have a guitar or something? We can play across the thing. We can sit in our, you know. And his wife goes, yes, he does. He's not very good. I said, I don't care. I don't care. I just want to play.
I think that's the way we're all feeling right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you can't go wrong with John McVie. He's a fantastic player. Or Jack Bruce, who is one of my personal favorites as well. So you can't go wrong with it with those two guys. But John definitely plays some really interesting stuff. Very lots of harmony parts to the music that you don't get from a lot of other bass players.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as this goes on, Julie, I want to jump in there really quickly. As this goes on, hopefully this will continue and we can make something out of this little show and do it even after COVID-19. I like to be the first one to say, when we get to that point and you get the band together, it would be really cool if you get the band on and do a song with us. So I want to definitely be the first one to invite 2FU, which I love. 2 Flights
That's not very nice.
Yeah, that's their logo. 2 Flights Up, 2FU.
Oh,
and I get the biggest kick out of it every time I see it.
Not very appreciative.
It is. It's literally 2 flights up to the studio. So, yeah.
The logo is great. I love it.
So you really want that old PV gear that weighs like 700 pounds, right?
Man.
Yeah, the PVT 40,
No, I got one better for you. I got a
the boat anchor.
I got a TNT 115 I'll gladly let you have. It only weighs 90 pounds.
Yeah, if you can pick it up, you can have it, right?
Yeah.
That is exactly why I got rid of my old crate 115, and I now have a TC Electronics 250 watt 115 that weighs 34 pounds.
You'll be happy to know that it's holding down my basement floors to this day.
You
And
bet.
that's why after I turned 40, I went mark based, so it's only 21 pounds. I can lift it with one hand.
Right.
There you go.
Man, the new.
And I just keep building my drum set bigger. Every drummer I know's got 3 pieces. I've got a lot of drums, and I like it that way. So yeah.
Class
You know,
D
Got a great set
amplifier
of
is
drums,
great.
Matt. Mm.
Do what?
I would love to have a big old Ampeg 810 and a and a tube head. I just don't want to carry it anywhere.
Right.
Because that's
I don't mind having
way
one.
too
You
heavy.
can carry it for me.
All
I
right,
still
so
have
I got another question for you guys. So we talked a little bit about what you're practicing, what you're listening to, and all of that. What are you playing in terms of like equipment? What kind of what's your current number one bass or whatever? Or did you have you recently gotten a new pedal or a new amp or something that's really kind of sparking some things for you? What are you putting your hands on these days? And we'll start with let's start with Dana this time.
I've got an Ibanez 5-string Geo. Nice, pretty, kind of a red burst.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ooh, I like
I've been
that.
playing 5-string since 91. Okay. Nice, pretty
Looks
good.
like what my bass player plays.
Yeah.
Now, Dana, are you strictly fingers or do you use a pick?
I do both. I do 3 styles. I'm mostly fingers. I will do pick when it calls for pick.
Here you go, Dana.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right there. We're bass twins right there, right? So I will play pick when it calls for pick, like when the Billy Idol song, Moni Moni. I am unable to play that with fingers because it was recorded with pick. I got to play with pick. Now, if my hands hurt at the end of the night, I will switch to pick to give my fingers a rest. I use 3 fingers. I use 3 fingers all night long. I do slap minimally. There is a short video somewhere of me slapping Brick House back in my early 20s. I regret it, although it does exist.
I may have even seen that live.
I know. I've got it on CD. My sister found it and put it on CD for me. Thank you.
Dana, is that the Billy Sheehan 3-finger technique that you're using?
Actually, I incorporated that because now when I was in college, I pinched a nerve between vertebrae 1 and 2. And so in order to alleviate stress, I started with the 3 fingers. And there was nobody to go from to teach me how to do this. It was just simply to alleviate stress in the forearm and the wrist. So I just started to do that. And then towards the end of the night, and this is even when I was playing Lemon Wheel, the strap would get lower and lower to straighten the arm. Mm-hmm. And it's just all physical stress relieving practice. But as I read and learned, I mean, I forgot the band this guy plays in, but he plays fretless heavy metal bass. He does 3 fingers. Why play with a pick when you got 3 picks on one hand? Mm-hmm. My amp is just a little Fender Rumble 15. I live in a very small space out here, 520 square foot. We live very below our means because we're computer people. We've got a very small dog, and we have no reason to expand our space yet. And I'm looking into getting some Oralex in order to help with working at home and also to be playing music outside of headphones. I did sell all my gear before I left Indy. I sold 3 basses. I sold my Mark bass in order to facilitate the trip out. And thankfully, I've got 2 friends out there in Indy that bought me this bass as a birthday present. Because I should never be without a bass. And I'm very, very and forever grateful to Rusty and Kevin from Polka Boy and the Wobblies. And the only deal was, don't sell the bass. Well, I will never sell the bass because I should never be without one. So this is my guy.
I have
Here,
been there myself, and
Hmm?
I have sold bases that I shouldn't have sold.
Yeah.
And I have been the recipient of a base from Kevin, as a matter of fact, that I am forbidden to ever sell.
Yeah,
I witnessed
yes.
anyway. It's a member of our family, so
Yeah.
I definitely understand. But you know, the best friends will buy you a base.
Yeah. It was an emotional day, and it's great. So I've got this guy, and he feels great. So this is what I got, and it's perfect for this size place that I have. And I still play within headphones, and I play very low because the walls are very thin where we live. I'll expand later when we can. But yeah, this dude sounds fantastic. Nice big bore pickups.
All right.
And the Fender sounds fantastic. Hold on.
All right. Okay, so Steve, what are you playing these days?
Well,
I see several of them there in the background.
Well, it's funny that Dana brought out an Ibanez bass, but I got mine from Kevin. I actually paid, I think, $150 for it. It's a EDB 405, very old. I think I saw one listed on eBay for, I wanted to say like $375 used, but it was not in anywhere near as good a shape as this one was in. It was kind of beat to hell. Looked like they kind of drug it behind a car or something. But that one, I have a Fender Precision Light that Kevin actually bought for me way back when. I still have it. It's in the other room. Also have this was a win buy. Just a Squire P bass, $200. I pulled a Kevin. I literally walked in. I was thinking, nope, I'm not buying a guitar. I'm good. I'm just gonna go in, play around a little bit. Yeah, right. I sat down, played it, and I was like, damn, this plays really good. I wonder what they want for. I looked up, $200. I was like, oh crap, Chris is gonna kill me. So, I bought it before I even called her. I paid for it, and on the way out the door, I stopped right outside Guitar Center, and I called her up. I'm like, you're going to kill me. She's like, what'd you do? I'm like, it's not my fault. What'd you do? I couldn't help it. It's not, how much was it, and what'd you buy? It was only $200, and it was a Squire P bass, and it's all black. All right, where's the picture? So I sent it to her, and she's like, okay, we can deal with that. And but the fact that it was $200, I think out the door, even with the warranty, I think I ended up with like out the door $225 out the door. I'm like, hell yes, you can't get a brand new anything for that. Yeah. And I wanted a 4-string to replace the other one, just in case, like, because both the other ones are active and this one is not. However, that works out great with the amp I have, which is a Hardkey 3500C, 350 watt. It has you can, hang on, let's see if I can turn this around, show you guys. I don't know if you guys ever seen one, but the preamps right here, one of them is a solid state, one of them is a valve or tube, and you can blend the two of them. There's also a compressor, EQ. I mean, you can contrast. The best head I've ever owned. You can go passive or active on it. You can run direct out through it, and I'm running it through a Ampeg 115 Portaflex cabinet. Each piece weighs like 40 pounds, and I could literally have one in each hand and is nothing. And the last time I played it live was at Mark Gutshaw's, and I believe when we initially did the sound check, I had to turn down because it was literally overpowering everything, and it wasn't even up very loud.
Yeah, that puppy was pretty loud. It sounded good though. It really did. He had a really good tone.
That's a good bass head. I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was actually in the market when I found this one. I was actually in the market for a Galen Kruger amp, and then somebody on the one of those bass player groups on Facebook had turned me on to this one. And he told me that they were considered workhorse amps in the business. So I was like, well, shit, I'll check it out. So the more I looked into it, I was like, okay, sold.
Yeah, they're a good solid amp. All right, let's go over to Julie. What are you playing, Julie?
Well, I have the Fender, and what I really like about it is that it matches a pair of boots I got. So they're really
There you go.
That's very important, by the way.
Isn't it? Yeah, I got a pair of real kick-ass Doc Martens that match the same color, but
that bass is badass blue color. I told you that when I saw it the first time, and we talk about how people influence each other.
yeah.
Does that look familiar?
Yeah, it does.
I saw it and I'm in Detroit at a Guitar Center, and I saw that and I was like, oh, there it is. I got it.
I think some of my favorite though that I fell in love with is I was hauling around this bass amp, and it was just tiring getting it in and out. And I looked around and reached out to some folks, and I got this Hardkey KB12 kickback, and I love it. It has been wonderful. I can use it in small spaces, in big spaces. I know that you're all just wanting to see here on the floor, but it it's kind of, being a female, I want to carry my own weight and my own gig, because I end up having to help the drummer carry all his stuff anyway, because they got all the equipment. So I like to come in quick and to be able to go out quick and to have everything all packed in when I need to. But I tell you what, going wireless is the best thing I ever did, because I just can't stand still. So to be up on stage and to be in the same place and worrying about tripping over wires and stuff. So I like to surprise people in bars, especially the ones that aren't really paying attention, that are all the way in the back. And so when I'm not singing something, and now I got wireless mic too. So I like to go up, and that's just kind of fun. So I love having that freedom and not being stuck on stage if I don't want to be.
I feel you.
That's awesome. What kind of wireless are you using for the instrument?
I'm just using a Line 6.
I hear a lot of great things about those.
It's worked out well. And I've been able, depending on where it is, and I don't know how legal. I think I got it before it was all the FCC, this, that, or the other had come through, I think just a few months before. But I never run into any problems with signal or whatever. Sometimes I'm really shocked. So about where I can go in a club or outside, or to be able to play. So that's kind of fun.
Cool. All right, Tim, I think I was there when you bought your most recent bass. So why don't you tell us about what you're playing?
Yes, you were. And that's the bass I'm playing now. That's my exclusive bass on stage with Isaac. It's a Fender 5-string. Americans. It's active and it's just so sweet. When I looked, I was looking for a Fender 5-string, and so I was going to buy used, and everyone that I found were just only $300 less than a new one. So I go to Guitar Center. I found one that I liked. I'm going to go to Guitar Center and try one. And man, the one that I pulled off the wall, that was it. That was me. So for $300 more, that's it. So exclusively with Isaac, I play that. If I have a few other basses. If I do a gig at the Noodle, I have an old Fender Jazz from the back in the 90s. Still like to play that. I have a Warwick and a Tobias bass. That Warwick bass is it's all rock and roll to me. I mean, that's a good rock bass. Great tone. That's my war horse. That bass never gets out of tune. I can play it in cold weather, damp weather. You know, anytime. I used to have a Spectre bass. Was it a Spectre? No, crap, I can't remember what it was. And that was my crappy weather bass. And I ended up trading it in on something, and then the Warwick became the beast of choice for that. But it's all I'm playing now, and mainly is the Fender. I still play the other two for practice. But that's it. I have a Fender Rumble 800 stage, and I bought a 15 to go with it, and that's my medium-sized gig, medium to smaller gig rig. I still have an old Ampeg 410 with a handle on it. It's got a tweeter, and I don't remember the model of it. It's got the four vents on the bottom. And I have a Gallion Kruger head. I've had a couple of those. This is the 1100, man. It is that is the sound. I mean, it is hands down the best sound that I ever produced. But it's big and bulky, so I don't usually, unless it's a big stage, you know, on a big gig, I don't break it out. It's in the garage. It works.
All right.
Well, Jim, I think we're going to take a moment here. I think Zach has been logged on. I think he's out there somewhere ready to do a little bit of. He's in there somewhere anyway. I think he's supposed to be anyway to do some sports. Zach, are you with us? Here's some
I'm here.
in crunching. I think Dana had asked talk about some Colts. I don't know if she's still back there at her desk or not.
I'm here.
Are you?
About the Colts, man.
First off, how you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Good to see you.
I'm loving the beard, man. I'm loving the beard. As you can see, I'm working on mine. It's coming along. We'll get there sooner or later.
Yeah. Just keep feeding it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the key is if you pull it through your chin, you can pull it out of your head, and then you have a big long beard like that.
A friend of my oldest brothers used to tell me, because I was always trying to grow something, and he'd say, "Man, if you put some cream on there and let the cat lick that off."
Oh, hell no.
He was funny.
So what do you got for us, Zach? What's up?
Man, not much is up. It's tough doing a sports segment when there's very little sports to talk about. I'm always down to talk about the Colts. You know, we've got notable thing happening. We got some number changes. Instead of seeing everybody in the numbers you saw in last year, no more Devin Funchess on the team, so no one wearing 17 except for our brand new starting quarterback, Phillip Rivers. He'll be wearing the number 17 this year. Xavier Rhodes is changing his number, coming over from the Vikings. Rock Ya-Sin lost the number 26, and Xavier Rhodes will wear it. We'll wear the number 27, that is. You'll see Buckner, my favorite of our new signees, wearing number 99. Sadly, there's not a draft. we've got so as we all know, the Colts traded away that first overall draft pick. Well, not first overall, first round draft pick for DeForest Buckner. But we do have 2 second-round draft picks pretty early on. We've got the 34th overall pick and the 44th overall pick. And there's actually a lot of good talent that's come out in recent drafts at 34 overall pick. Actually, the Colts drafted Rock Yassin with the 34th pick last year. DeMarcus Lawrence came out in 2014, I want to say, at the 34th pick. Offensive tackle Cam Robinson for the Jaguars. Jalen Smith with a 34th overall pick. So you've got good talent at the second pick in the second round. It's really just what they decide to do with it right now that we can talk about. What do you guys think the Colts need, for you Colts fans, other than me?
I think with that first round trading it away for DeForest Buckner was getting a guy that they could have got at that level only with experience. I don't think they could have done better with the pick. So I think it was a smart thing to do. I'm just excited to watch him play.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
I agree with you as well.
Couldn't agree more.
But he's
There's
not
really
any relationship to Bill Buckner, is it? Just
I'll let you know if anything goes between his legs. Oh, yeah. That was back when I was a Sox fan because my old man was a Yankees fan.
So what? You became a Red Sox fan just to spite him?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's horrible. That sounds like what Jake did to me.
I can't
I was
imagine that.
10.
I'm still trying to convert Jake into being a Notre Dame fan.
who is Jake rooting for these days, man?
What was that, Zach?
I said, who is Jake rooting for these days?
Yeah, who is?
Jake watches about every sport that ESPN will manage to put on, but but he still watches football and but he'll watch a little bit of everything. But he roots for the Red Sox and the Yankees, which is unconscionable, and on the he's been trained right, he roots for Michigan.
Yeah, whatever.
And why?
Well,
Because it's the winningest program in NCAA history.
He's been misled by his dad for sure.
Yeah. Just like you root for the Yankees because, well, you got one comeback as a Yankees fan for anything anybody says, and it is 27. When any of you get to 27, then you can say something about it. Otherwise, you don't have that many world championships. It might have been a while since the last one. We are trying to buy one, but isn't everybody? The difference is that, our owner just has more money than everybody.
Well, there you go.
Well, I got to grow up watching the Cubs on WGN with my grandpa up in Kokomo, so when they finally got the series, I was thrilled. A kid playing on there from IU made it even better because I actually watched his college career, the outfielder, number 12.
Oh, yeah, number 12.
Schwarber, Kyle
Everybody knows that.
Schwarber. There we go, Kyle Schwarber. Good grief.
That's okay.
I'm
Nobody can remember
starting
the
to
names
forget
of
things
Cubs
and-
players.
It only gets better.
Memory? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've been noticing that.
Oh, man.
So what else you got for us, Zach? Anything? Are you
All right,
still
depends on
with
what you want to talk about. Of course I'm here, man. Of course I'm here.
us? So there you are.
Am I making a good face?
We're going to let
We got some news. There's very little news in sports, but there is some news. If you're a UFC fan or if you're just a sports fan,
Ooh, we're losing you, man. I think we're losing you there, Zach.
Reruns.
Nice and thick.
Dana White the president of the UFC.
Oops.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
We need to get better internet.
Just switch
I
over
keep
to
getting a warning that he's
Wi-Fi.
got-
Yeah. Are you 5G or Wi-Fi?
5G right now.
Why don't you switch over to Wi-Fi? See how that works.
Hang on.
Okay, so where did I cut out at?
UFC.
UFC. So if you're tired of not watching sports or watching reruns, Dana White, the president of the UFC, has secured a private island, which he plans to have for the next 2 months having fights on that he's going to televise. So on the 18th of April, there will be a 12 fights that night, which time ever. And the last, month it's been. So something fun to watch there.
Please tell me it's the Survivor Series. Oh,
Hey, dude, if only, man.
Buddy.
If they do it right.
That's not the island that the pedophile who supposedly killed himself used to own, is it?
It's the exact island,
Dr.
actually.
Moreau.
Dr. Moreau, is that what you said, Andy?
yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I
one.
was just thinking that's a hell of a cage match, right? I mean, you two men go on the island, one man comes off.
No, just turn them all loose.
12
It's
men in the cage, yeah.
Hunger Games.
Right.
When do we get our district assignments?
Oh,
Maybe soon, dude. Maybe soon. So what else you got in sports there, Zach? Anything?
We got some more news. Turn it on over to women's basketball. Fun little tidbit. Fever will be inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame on April 29th,
Well
which is
deserved.
fantastic. Yeah, of course, well-deserved. 15-year career, all with the Fever, 10 All-Star games, Rookie of the Year, 16.1 points per game throughout her career and 2.4 blocks, kind of 4 gold medals. That's an entire conversation right there on how great she was.
All around awesome person too. We met her when I was coaching basketball, grade school, middle school basketball, and the girls got to do what they call the Court of Dreams, and they got to go out and play on the court. And Tamika Catchings was one of the people who actually came out to meet the girls at our halftime and spent some time with them and talked to them. And
Cool.
man, I mean, you can't ask for a better person. And the fact that she's a dynamite athlete, wow. You know, her family should be proud. That's all great person. Awesome. Well deserved.
Of course, well deserved. Very well deserved. I mean, her accolades are a mile long. I mean, probably the best to ever do it. And luckily enough, she did it here in Indiana for 15 years. So.
and steals, shooting percentage, free throw percentage, and assists. Yeah. So, and I think top 3 in most of those categories.
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't want to play one-on-one again.
No, you wouldn't.
That would not be good. I don't think 5 of us in this group could play 5-on-1 against her.
Yeah, no. No, she was pretty physical.
I'm a drummer, not a basketball player.
That's right.
Hey, I just got an update back to music. Brian died.
Oh, man.
Shit.
Yeah, that happened, I think it was 2 days ago. Was it? I think so.
He died 2 days ago?
Yes,
I think so.
Oh, wow.
correct.
First I've heard of
Okay,
it.
then he didn't just die, but he died. That's too bad. What a songwriter. What a songwriter.
Another one gone too soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
And John Taylor, bass player for Duran Duran, is now fighting COVID-19.
Really?
Yes.
I'll tell you
But
what,
that's-
He's
I've
a
seen
good
Durant. They are really good.
Yeah, they are.
You know,
I've
they're
not seen
really-
them in person, but I have watched them live on the and yes,
Wow.
it was
John-
a great show.
John Taylor is an amazing bass
Yeah,
player.
he is.
It is.
I've seen him
I
a couple
say-
times.
I seen a demonstration he did the use of ghost notes, and he did it. He did one of the his own Duran Duran tunes, Rio. That whole bass line is pretty much all ghost notes. It's
You are
amazing.
correct, man. Yes.
That's a really good bass part. Very good. Great song.
And he playing. I'm sitting there, my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, holy crap! And he's
You
just
know,
like,
you watch him, and he has fun. He's still having fun. We saw him last year. My wife's a huge Duran Duran fan. A little story I'll tell you. So 15 or so years ago, Don Stuck got my wife and I row 10 center tickets. And he says, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem, man." So I go to the show, and I'm not a Duran Duran fan, but I'll go pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was a great show. I had a good time. So Stuck was trying to give me the business later on. Says, "So hey, sissy, how was that Duran Duran show?" I said, "Man, dude, it was awful, man. That whole theater was full of 35-year-old high school girls, man, losing their mind." Said, "Oh man, I didn't think about it like that." I said, "Apparently not."
That's rough. That's really rough.
It was terrible, man. Thanks.
I feel for you, brother. I feel for you.
I can't believe you put me up to it, man.
Yeah.
So if I go on online, note demonstration, will I find it?
oh yeah, just look up John Taylor, and on YouTube, he'll come up with a whole bunch of lists.
Well, you all
A whole
jump
bunch
up
of
and said
songs.
something about it. I'm like, I gotta see this. That sounds really interesting.
I mean, it's actually entertaining watching him play it. He just owns it, and I'm like, holy crap!
It's a really cool song, man. It's a busy bass song.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Right.
And it's funny you say busy bass, because since I've been down here, I've been playing with guitar more, but like I've been forcing myself to pick up bass more, but I haven't done it for so long. My hands have. So I have a list of songs that I play along to that I call my torture chamber, because after I play them, I'm in pain. And I tried, it's usually like a list of about 5 to 10 songs. And I tried it the other day. I made it about 3/4 of the way through the first song, and I had to put it down, and I was like, ow, okay.
That means you need to go back the next day and do it again.
Well, my problem is I hadn't played for so long. The strength of my hands just.
You need to keep working.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tell him. But
This might be the wrong forum for you to admit that you had a hard time picking up a bass.
I mean, so that's not feeling the need to punish myself with music. I just decided I'd get married instead.
all right, hey, hey, one thing we haven't done here. One thing we haven't done here, which I think we're remiss in, is that we make him play acoustic guitar on our show. But Andy Chalet is not a bad bass player, man. He's pretty damn good.
No, man, he's always been a good player, man.
He jams with us.
He's always been a good
man.
I've been lucky enough to play with everybody on this page except for Julie. And I tell you, it's just so many memories, so much, just so much stuff that is just a blast.
Now look, man, I don't mean to brag, but this new bass I got sounded really. I killed it so bad I destroyed the pickups in it. I got to go buy new pickups.
See?
That's the trash.
Yeah, he had a really
Guys,
good
I
time.
gotta go. East Coast and all.
Yeah, I got to get off here.
Good to
too.
meet you, Julie.
Good to meet you all. Thank
Pleasure
you. This
meeting
has
you.
been great. Thanks, Batman.
Julie.
Remember to invite the band when we can all do
All
this
right.
together. All right, tell
You got
everybody
it.
I said hi. All right, good folks. Good
That
folks.
Uh-oh, we got a puppy and a kitty. You see who that is?
Uh-oh.
I need to get off here also, Kevin.
That's all good. We've gone way longer than I anticipated.
It's been a
You
blast.
guys are a lot of fun.
Good to see everybody. We have to do.
I
you want-
think I've,
Do you want to play a
Thanks for
song?
hanging out,
everybody
guys.
here.
What's
I
that?
don't think I've ever played with Jim before, but man, Steve,
Dude,
man, when I first saw
Dana?
you in the ad, it's like,
I'm
man, I
telling
knew
you.
that dude.
Jim Goodwin got the best bass of any of us have ever seen. He got this thing on. Wait till he tells you, man. It is so.
Oh, it's awesome.
I'm gonna find Steve on Facebook because I think he and I need to talk more.
Steve
Hey,
Stewart.
Tim, you be safe, brother.
All right,
Here, guys.
you guys take care.
Do you want to see Jim's bass real quick? It's badass.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I've seen
Oh,
pictures
yes.
of it.
This is my Brady custom built 5-string fretless. The body is Texas mesquite, and it's a neck through. So we've got maple and wenge in the neck through. Then the top is English walnut on the top, and the fretboard is Palfero. So it is.
That's sweet.
It is,
What are you
and
planning
the
on doing
action
with
is ridiculously low. You can play this thing with next to no effort whatsoever.
I need to send you some information, Jim.
I'm sorry.
I need to send you some information,
Okay.
meaning my address.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sending you the base.
Jim got that immediately.
That's not happening.
Be selfish, man. Stop by once in a while and bring it along.
No
And
pay
Jimmy-
shipping, I promise.
she was
can't
good
see your
hostess.
Amazing sound.
Like
This is
35
absolutely-
years of playing to finally get to the point where I would let myself pull the trigger on a custom bass. And, you know, I have a couple of Fenders that I love, but my wife asked me why I don't ever play any of my other basses anymore. And it's, you have a Ferrari in the driveway. Why in the world would you ever drive the Dodge Charger that you have in the garage?
Yeah, I
You
would
know?
never drive a Honda Accord if I owned a frickin' Jaguar.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I still love sound, but this one works for what I'm doing now so beautifully. And Brady is just an incredible bass builder. The level of detail and finish on this thing is just beyond anything I've ever owned. And I love it. I appreciate bass.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty spectacular, and I love it. But you know,
It's the best bass I've ever had in my hands.
Let's play nice.
it's really not about the instrument. These are all just tools, and it's great to have nice tools. But you know, I really think that it comes from up here. And that's where you figure out what to play, because you know anybody can play some notes, but
Absolutely.
making it groove is a whole different thing.
Well,
Absolutely.
doesn't hurt to have the right tool for the job, though. So
Absolutely.
says the guy with guitars surrounding him.
They sound different. That's why you got to have more than one.
That's correct. That's
Right.
absolutely correct. You know, and it's funny as a guitar player. It doesn't really matter the amount of money you spend on a guitar. It's what sounds the best, what feels the best, what. I mean, I'll throw this out to you guys here, and we are too. But I've never asked this to a bass player before. I guess as a guitar player, I feel like we all sound different because of the way we fret, the way our fingers are shaped, or whatever, how we're made. For example, a lot of us rocking Ron Cottrell rather, and the left-handed guitar player that was running about Indy years ago. And Ron and I could play the same guitar through the same amplifier and sound like two completely different people. Do you guys feel, is that the way it is being a bass player too? Do the actual, your hands, your fingers, and an attack obviously would, but I mean, your fretting fingers, does it make that big of a difference? I've never asked.
I think it
absolutely.
certainly does.
Absolutely.
I think another piece really is about the note choice, because we can get a lot of the same tones from one instrument to the other, but how you decide notes to play and where to play them on the neck really makes a difference about how things move and sound.
Well, if you remember right, Kevin, that JC Bistro gig way back when, we had John Sowers, one of your salesmen, show up. You remember that band? Oh, hang on. Don't tell me. Don't.
Oh, I remember.
Not.
Yes, KNOT.
These guys, they wanted to be Green Day so bad they wanted to. Anyways, these guys, the bass player didn't even have a bass. He had to borrow my Area Pro 2 fly. Y'all remember that now?
Oh,
And
sorry.
John-
I guess you don't get to play.
And John Sowers comes to
Yeah,
me
really,
after
Tim.
they got off, and after we got off the thing, he told me, he said, funny how two people can play the exact same instrument and sound completely different.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
All right, guys, thanks for coming.
guys, it's been great.
Thanks a lot, fellas. Ladies.
Thank you very much.
Freaking love it.
Andy, you
Yeah,
want to
do
play
this
us a
again.
song out or anything?
Yeah, whatever you like, man.
I always love you to play a song. You play a song and play it out.
Well, I'll try to.
Well, that's up to you.
Occasionally it happens.
Player's choice.
You know, they make fretless guitars now, and then you don't have to tune. You just keep moving your fingers.
By the school all dressed in satin, waiting by the door. What a lucky man he was. What a lucky man he was. White lace, made of his wool covered mattress on which he was made. What a lucky man he was. What a lucky man he was. He went through 5 wars for his country and his king. Of his honor and his glory, people would sing. What a lucky man he Bullets. His blood ran as he died. Nobody could see him. What a lucky man he was. What a lucky man he was. What a lucky man he was.
On, dude.
Nice.
Well, thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks a lot, kids.
We appreciate you coming by.